So a lot of times we let the person who's coming in dictate their salary, or we let their season of life dictate the salary. Oh, they're the
Mhm.
sole breadwinner with 6 kids. We need to pay them more than the 23-year-old. Now granted experience, but let's say everything being equal, we still look at those things. And so there's a lot of laws being put in place for that. So I just want to quickly, I'm really into recapping. I want to recap because I feel like we've just already given a lot of information. That first, you figure out your philosophy. And I think part of figuring out your philosophy is you figure out what type of organization you are and what type of organization you want to be. Because are you a dollar store or are you Trader Joe's? And so when you look at those two stores, they pay their people differently because of their different styles and their different philosophy and company goals and all that stuff. So you really need to figure that out for your organization. Once you do that, Josh really said research. I saw one of the questions, people said, well, where did you research, Josh? I'm assuming one of the places was church salary, or one of the key places. And honestly, you can look at a variety of places, but I really do like organizations like church salary that have done a lot of the work for you. And they really give you a big range that you can look at. And, I always say when it comes to compensation, it's like 75% objective, 25% subjective. Your organization, your location, your culture, all of those things. And so you have to take that into account. But remember that like on average, half of your budget is salaries and compensation for your people. And yet we make no plan for it. Like if we're going to do a mortgage, we research the mortgage. If we're going to get copiers, we do tons of research on it, insurance, all the same thing. And yet when it comes to salaries, we really are just kind of like, this is what we've always paid. This sounds like a good number. This is what the person needs. So really considering it is the biggest slice of the pie that we have in our budgets, you really need to take some time to do this, and it will take time. So I loved Josh's examples that he had. One of the questions I think people ask is, okay, how do you get the minimum and the maximum? Well, some of it can be when you're looking at places, a lot of times they'll have a minimum and maximum. Really, if you have a middle of the road range, a general rule of thumb is 40 to 50% across the whole range. So, Aaron, step in if I'm wrong on that. But when we help organizations, let's say they're at 40,000. So our minimum, if 40,000 is the middle, our minimum will be 20% below that 40,000, and our maximum will be 20% above that 40,000. So there's a 40% range.
Yeah.
Some people do 50%. If it's a senior pastor, sometimes they may do more. Again, you find what's right for you, but those ranges, the more you can put data behind it, the more you can put justification. Because here's the thing. Number one, especially the new generation, transparency is key. And while we're not going to publish our salaries more and more, the NLRB, which is the National Labor Relations Board, says people can discuss their own salary any way they want. They can post it on all social media and there's nothing you can do about it. If you retaliate, if you discipline them, fire them, or whatever, they could sue you. So yeah, they can't talk about other people's salaries, but they could talk about their own. So, and you can't manage that. So in this new world, you want to make sure that you have a fairness to it. And that doesn't always mean equal, but a fairness to it because you've put the work in and you can defend it. And it is, you don't feel weird like, oh, this person, has worked here 10 years longer, but is making a bunch less than the person we just hired. You want to make sure you're looking at those.
I was just going to mention, I threw up this slide here for you guys.
Yeah.
This is based on all the positions. So we've normalized the data by budget so we can compare people from large churches to small churches. But if you compress all the salary data for executive pastors, senior pastors, sort of the major types of pastors, these pay grades just pop out. This is just the raw data itself. And you can see that there's essentially three pay grades for pastoral staff that churches typically pay. You've got executive and senior pastors at grade 3. You've got associate music pastors, and then adult education like small groups and discipleship pastors in grade 2, and then youth and children in grade 3. And then you can see, like Tiffany was saying, the salary range for the top grade is wider than the youth and children down at the bottom. And so that salary spread, the range of the technical term is interquartile range between the third quartile and the first quartile, it gets wider as the positions get bigger. So you have more room to move employees up and have starting salaries. But this just pops out of the data when you run the numbers. And so my guess is that you're going to need to have something similar to this, at least for your pastoral staff, have different pay grades for different types of pastoral staff. And these are based on the first quartile, the median, and the third quartile numbers, which are included in every church salary report if you run them.